Monday morning, Lance got up really early, before dawn, really, uh, this day, and he went down quietly, and he decided he was going to go for an early morning bike ride because he was in his mind he was working on that idea. He was going to get to finish his quest, and he was going to get back home, get to see Morgan again. So he went down, and he was thoughtful. He thought, if I leave, he didn't want to wake everybody up. If they come down and I'm not here, they're going to wonder what's going on. They'll see that my bike is gone. So what he did was he got a piece of paper. They kept a clipboard hanging down there for messages, and on the clipboard was the paper, and he wrote down that he'd gone for a bike ride, uh, and that he'd be back about 9. Uh, and then off he went. And it was good that he did that because when the others woke up and came down, he was nowhere around, and they really would have wondered. But then they saw, and they thought, well, that's good. Although I got to say that Elaine, she was still having some real mixed feelings because what was good for Lance was sad for her. The better he got, the closer it was going to be that he would be leaving. So she was wrestling with that. Well, Lance went for a long bike. Well, it was probably over 2 hours that he was gone. Not that they knew when he'd left, but he did get back by 9. But he had ridden his bike up up the hill, Boxwood Hill Cemetery, up in that area. He Instead of going to the east, he'd gone to the west where it was a little bit hilly, and he was trying his knee and see how it could deal with some hills instead of just on the flat, and it did fine. He rode all around there and in that neighborhood. It was kind of a one upscale neighborhood and lots of houses to look at and stuff. But mostly he was interested in how was his knee going to do, and it was doing just fine. He got back by 9, as he promised or indicated, and then they held waited breakfast for him. That's the way we'd say it here. They'd waited breakfast for him, and they had breakfast, and then Lance said that he was hoping that he and Elaine could go for a really long walk that day, without the cane, without the wheelchair, go for a walk and see how far he could do. And they could always come straight back to the house if they needed to. Uh, and so yeah, they were up for that. And, for her part, Violet, she had plenty to do. She was still working on that. Her part of that sign that was going to say the basket case, she'd work on that. So she'd be there. And off they went on their walk. And their walk, Lance had got curious about, as a kind of a challenge, to see how many of the churches in Richland they could find. Walk by and see how they all look so different. By his count, well, according when he looked it up, there were close to 30 different kinds of church in this little city of Richland, and he thought it would be fun to see how many we could see, and they did, and it took them. They walked for hours, but his knee was fine, and they finally, instead of going straight back to the house, they went on down to Minockin River Park, is what it's called. There's a park down where the Minockin River comes down out of the mountains through Richland, and then it turns south to eventually join the James River. Uh, and they walked down there, and it's kind of a rocky area, and real pleasant park. It was pretty much empty, and because of the time of day, and it was Monday, so it was real pleasant. Now walking, they held hands, and as I said earlier, they were going to start to do that. These two, in a way, were in a strange kind of love. And at first, Elaine was still having trouble with this. she couldn't help thinking of the words to a song that that her G-ma knew, "Killing Me Softly," with his song, I think is the way the words go. But in a way, he was killing her softly with his touch, you know, to get used to that. But she loved it, and she didn't take her hand away, and got comfortable. And eventually, by the time they'd walked for a couple hours and then were getting down there by the park, she actually put her arm around his waist, and they were walking almost like lovers, the two of them. And this was one of the happiest days, really, that Elaine had had since her mother died. She was really happy that day. And as she was going along, she started to hum a tune, and Lance said, "You know, what's that?" And she said, "Oh, it's a song I can't help thinking of." Again, my G-ma knew it from the '60s. Do you want to hear the words? And Lance said, I love your voice. I'd love to hear you sing it." And she didn't sing it well. She did sing it all, but I'm not going to. I'll just show you how it went. Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows may all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. I hope you know that song. I'll give you a link so you can find it. It's back in the 1960s. There were a lot of songs like that really carried messages. And that she thought of that because she was so happy that day, and she wasn't going to let the future spoil the happiness of that day.